Hey everybody, this is Ryan McClanahan with HistoryThroughCards.com. I hope you're all doing very well today. I've been dying to cover a NFL quarterback, a legend, for over a year, in fact, and it happens to be this gentleman right here. This is, of course, Sammy Baugh, and this is a 1938 Dixie Lead Premium, and it's the first known, I guess, card or image of him on an item. So I'm not entirely sure if it's a rookie card or not. I would consider it to be uh, just that, a card. But you guys in the comment section below, you can let me know if you agree with that. You may not, and that's perfectly fine. Sammy Baugh is a quarterback, a player that I have always heard about ever since I started to. I think even before I started to collect vintage cards. Now I do have both of the sets, the 1937 and 1938, and you will find this in the 1938 Dixieland Premium set. What you would do if you were a collector back in 1937 to 38 is take the lid and send it into your five and dime, and they would in turn give you one of these. At least that's what I think they did. I wasn't around in 1938, contrary to popular belief among a lot of people, but I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall or a collector back then to see what was going on in the hobby at the time because it was brand new. It was really a brand new hobby back then. But on the back here, I have a 1937 Dixie Lid Premium of Ducky Medwick, and I will actually talk more about Ducky here. I'm just going to wait till I get in his 1938 Gaudy Heads Up to discuss his career. But there is a connection between the St. Louis Cardinals and this gentleman right here, Sammy Baugh. So today, what I thought I would do is discuss Sammy Baugh's legendary career with you guys, uh, introduce his career to some of the younger collectors who maybe have heard the name but really don't know a whole lot about him, or reintroduce Sammy Baugh to us older collectors. And I do have all of his cards except for the the 1948 Bowman, which a lot of collectors, dealers, and whoever they really I think consider that to be his rookie card. But he has a 1948 now. I think it's 1949 Leaf, which I just acquired, in fact, and that's a beautiful card. It's one of my favorites. But Sammy Baugh has a lot of really great cards too. The 1950 Bowman and 52 Bowman especially are very nice. But I really wanted to get into Sammy Baugh's career with you guys and just kind of glaze over some things. His record is amazing. It truly is, and I would be remiss if I didn't kind of like tell you guys about this because he's just an incredible quarterback and NFL legend. So here we go. This is from the Ogden Standard Examiner, Ogden, Utah, November 7th, 1940. Sammy Baugh rated tops as passer in professional loop by Harry Grayson. Samuel Adrian Baugh is making his fourth season in professional football his biggest. The Texas Christian product has pitched the Washington Redskins into the money game's number one position in both standing and attendance. The Braves from the banks of the Potomac went into the Pittsburgh party with 6 straight victories, the only unbeaten club in the National League. Samuel Baugh in college and out, including the first half dozen games this year, completed 546 of 1,125 forwards for a total yardage of 7,054, or just 14 yards more than 4 miles. Football men see in Sammy Baugh's performances a combination of sheer skill and imagination. The tricks he does to fake defenders out of position are remarkable to witness. A good enough infielder to try out with the St. Louis Cardinals, he handles a football like a baseball better than any other man in the pigskin parade. Baugh's fakes scatter defense all over the lot. Such an authority as Dutch Clark of the Cleveland Rams and such brilliant passers as Benny Friedman and Harry Newman, who starred in pro football as passers after writing history at Michigan, consider Sammy Baugh the greatest passer of all time. Baugh brought into football all of baseball's pitching and catching moves into the bases. He has a change of pace. When the 6-foot 3-inch Texan fakes a throw before pulling the ball back for his real toss, the defense usually becomes confused, not to mention hysterical. The defense never knows where he is going to hurl the ball, for Sweet Sammy of Sweetwater never first looks in the direction of the receiver who is to get the pass. Baugh's running ability enhances his value as a passer. When Slingin' Sam starts out as if to pass, then chances into a run and back to motions as if to pass, the defense frequently is scattered all over the lot. Baugh is one of the mighty few backs who throws accurately while running. He does not have to come to a stop and set himself. If his receivers are covered, he often has a wide opening for a run. Amazing quick kickers' punts average 48 yards. Baugh's punting average at the moment is 48 yards from the line of scrimmage, the highest in the National League. He's surprised the Detroit Lions with 4 quick kicks for 65, 68, 67, and 64 yards. His punts travel on a low trajectory. His accuracy is almost unbelievable. Baugh is an excellent blocker and a stout defender. He has taken his place among the all-time greats as an all-round performer, but it is his amazing passing that will live on for years to come. Make every pass so that the ball will hit the receiver in the eye if he doesn't catch it, Coach Dutch Meyer once told the peerless pitcher at Texas Christian. Which eye? Asked Samuel Adrian Baugh. This is from the San Antonio Express News, San Antonio, Texas, August 24th, 1952. Sammy Baugh, Football's Miracle Man, by Dick Peebles. The owner of the Washington Redskins is a legendary operator named George Preston Marshall. Next to having his Redskins win football games, his favorite pastime is talking. He gives the impression he might have been vaccinated with a Victoria needle. His favorite subject is Sammy Baugh and how he outslickered George Halas of the Chicago Bears in signing Baugh to a professional football contract. After the way he passed Texas Christian University into the football headlines, Baugh was a red-hot article for the pro teams. The Bears and Redskins both wanted him. When Marshall asked Grantland Rice, Dean of American Sports Writers, his opinion of Baugh, he answered, "He's the greatest passer I've ever seen in college football, but he's also the skinniest guy I've ever laid eyes on." Marshall wasn't worried about Baugh's lack of bulk. He was worried about the National Football League draft. Through the Bears had finished higher than the Redskins in 1936. Halas had prior draft rights through a trade. Marshall was sure the Bears would draft Baugh. But Marshall also knew the Bears liked Buzz Bolivid, the great Marquette halfback. So Marshall planted the story where it would grow and get back to Halas that the Redskins planned to take Bolivid the first time around. Halas got the rumor, and he knew that Bolivid from Marquette was a natural drawing card in Chicago, whereas Baugh was from faraway Texas. The Bears drafted Bovid, and Marshall was overjoyed. He took Baugh. But getting the draft rights to the TCU pasture was only half the battle. Sammy had just about decided to give up football for pro baseball, but the persuasive Marshall talked him into playing just one season. Marshall made a Hollywood production out of signing Baugh. He had sports writers, photographers, and newsreel cameramen lined up at the airport to greet Sam when he got off the plane, decked out in 10-gallon hat, cowboy outfit, and hand-stitched boots. It didn't leak out until afterwards that the cowboy regalia was all Marshall's idea. It was the first time Baugh had ever worn such clothes. Now they're part of his regular wardrobe. Baugh and the Redskins both started out in Washington the same year. Before that, Marshall had operated the club in Boston. In his first game, Baugh lived up to the advance notices by completing 11 of 15 passes against the New York Giants. The other 4 were dropped by the receivers because they hadn't learned to handle Sam's fast offerings. The Redskins won the game 13-3 and went on to win the Eastern Championship behind Baugh and the spectacular running of Cliff Battles. They whipped the Bears for the league championship. And although he was a great success, Baugh almost quit football after that season. The St. Louis Cardinals had signed him to a pro baseball contract, and he reported to spring training. The Cards farmed him out to Columbus and Rochester before he finally decided he'd never be able to hit major league pitching. Then he returned to the Redskins and football. Baugh was hurt most of the 1938 season, and the Redskins didn't do much. But the next season, they went to the East Division Finals, and in 1940 met the Bears again for the World Championship. The Skins had nosed out the Bears during the regular season 7-3, but injuries to backs Dick Todd, Andy Farkas, and Wilbur Moore handicapped the Redskins in the playoff. In the opening minutes of play, Baugh hit end Charlie Malone along in the end zone, but Malone dropped the ball. That was the closest the Skins came to scoring. The Bears came bouncing back. Everything they did was right. Everything the Redskins did was wrong. The Bears won 73-0. Afterward, Baugh was asked if he didn't think the result might have been different if Malone had held on to that touchdown pass. Yeah, drawled Sam. The score might have been 73-6. Baugh's record with the Skins has been phenomenal. They beat the Bears for the world title in 1942 after a near perfect season. Again in 1943, they came up to the World Championship only to lose to the Bears 41-21. They bowed to the Cleveland Rams for the 1945 title 15-14 when Baugh's touchdown pass hit a goalpost and cost the Skins 2 points. This play caused a change in the rules. As he got older, Slingin' Sam got better. He set record after record and then bettered them. As Dick Todd, Baugh's former teammate and present coach, says, Baugh is the greatest passer of all time. There are not many who will argue that point. This is from the Evansville Courier and Press, Evansville, Indiana, December 21st, 2008. Slingin' Sammy Baugh set standard of greatness in early days of the NFL by Betsy Blaney. Lubbock, Texas. People never forgot Slingin' Sammy Baugh. Every day, as many as 4 letters arrived at the West Texas ranch the pioneering quarterback called home. Baugh, whose use of the forward pass took him to the Hall of Fame after a career with the Washington Redskins, died Wednesday night. He was 94. The letters came from young and old. Some asked for Baugh's autograph. but in the last several years of his life, he couldn't oblige them. His son David Baugh responded to each one, telling fans his father could no longer hold a pen. Billionaire investor Warren Buffett even wrote to Baugh and, like so many others, just talked about how he was an inspiration in their lives. David Baugh told the Associated Press he did a lot of things pretty good, not just as an athlete. He was a good rancher, roper. He was a pretty good man. Baugh, hampered by numerous health issues, died at Fisher County Hospital in Rowton. David Baugh said his father had battled Alzheimer's disease and dementia for several years and recently had been ill with kidney problems, low blood pressure, and double pneumonia. It wasn't the same Sam we all knew, he said. He just finally wore out. Sammy Baugh was the last surviving member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's inaugural class of 1963. His funeral is Monday. After starring at TCU, Slingin' Sammy played with the Redskins from 1937 to 1952, leading them to the NFL title in his rookie season and again in 1942. Baugh was the best all-round player in an era when versatility was essential. In 1943, he led the league in passing, punting, and interceptions. In one game, he threw 4 touchdowns and also intercepted 4 passes. He threw 6 touchdown passes in one game twice. His 51.4-yard punting average in 1940 remains an NFL record. When Baugh entered the NFL, the forward pass was so rare that it was unveiled mostly in desperate situations. As a rookie in 1937, he completed a record 81 passes, about 7 per game, and led the league with 1,127 yards passing. By contrast, only 6 quarterbacks averaged 3 completions a game that year. He went on to lead the league in passing 6 times. Baugh still holds Redskins records for career touchdown passes, 187, and completion percentage in a season, 70.3, and his 31 interceptions on defense, a third on the team's career list. He was an amazing, just tremendously accurate Eddie LeBaron, who took over as Washington's quarterback in Baugh's last season, said in a 2002 interview, he could always find a way to throw it off balance. I've seen him throw the ball overarm, sidearm, and underarm and complete them. Baugh guided the Redskins to 5 title games and 2 championships, playing his entire career without a face mask. His number 33 is the only jersey Washington has retired. Sammy Baugh embodied all we aspire to at the Washington Redskins. Redskins owner Dan Snyder said Wednesday night, he was a competitor in everything he did and a winner. He was one of the greatest to ever play the game of football and one of the greatest the Redskins ever had. Baugh's reputation blossomed as a star high school athlete in football, baseball, and basketball in Sweetwater. It began to grow during his college days at TCU. It was there that he picked up the name Slingin' Sammy, but it wasn't for his passing, it was for the rockets he fired to first base as a shortstop and third baseman. Everybody thought I was a better baseball player growing up, he said in 2002. As an All-American football player, he led TCU to a 29-7-3 mark, including Sugar Bowl and Cotton Bowl victories. He masterfully executed an early ancestor of the West Coast offense at TCU, and he credits Horned Frogs coach Dutch Meyer with the NFL success. I was a little ahead of a lot of the football players in those days because of Dutch, he said. Sammy Baugh brought the Double Mountain Ranch, named for two hills that jut out of the flat earth north of his house in 1941. He and his wife, Edmona, who had died in 1990, raised five children on the arid expanse covered with mesquite trees, prickly pear cactus, and about 500 cows. David Baugh said his father didn't want to be remembered for anything to do with football and hoped his epitaph reflected that wish. They ought to put down, "I was a pretty good cowman," David Baugh recalled his father saying. That's what he loved, being out on the ranch. In addition to his son David Baugh, is survived by sons Todd Baugh of Billings, Montana, and Stephen Baugh of Midland, daughter Frances Baugh of Lubbock, sister Nell Kendrick of Garland, 12 grandchildren, and 11 great grandchildren. So that's my quick look into the life and career of Sammy Baugh. And I would have loved to have been a fly in the wall for that 1940 championship game. And obviously, it is the most lopsided championship game ever played, 73 to nothing against Sid Luckman and his Bears. But Sammy Baugh has an amazing career, which I think has it's not really talked about all that much today. Like he's not really talked about as much either. And I think one of the reasons why is because of the rules changes in the NFL, which a lot of ball players from like the 1920s, 30s, 40s, and 50s and 60s, um, because of the rules changes, those guys' accomplishments have they've just kind of slid off the records books, making it really difficult for a lot of NFL players to actually now get into the Hall of Fame. And the Hall of Fame process itself, I hate. I really hate it. I think they need to change it because now you have a backlog of uh, deserving players who can't get in the Hall of Fame now, just because it's so tight and you have a backlog, like I just said. And it kind of begs the question if Sammy Baugh, would he be able to get into the Hall of Fame today? And just because of the rules changes, I'm not entirely sure. Some of the guys who are obvious choices for Hall of Fame just they're no longer there, just because you got the rules changes and you have an extra game or two, right? And I think the NFL wants to have another game added, so that's like a bone of contention for me personally, is that there are a lot of players in the NFL who just can't get into the Hall of Fame now because of all that, and I kind of wonder if Sammy Baugh would have been one of those guys had he not been the inaugural class. The other thing that I thought was also really interesting too is that he was in the Cardinals minor league system. I've talked about the Cardinals minor league system of the late 1930s, mid to late 1930s, and they were hiding ball players in their minor league system and not allowing them to advance until Kennesaw Mountain Landis found out that the Cardinals had secret affiliations, and he broke up that entire quote unquote monopoly, if you will. I'm not entirely sure if Sammy Baugh would have actually continued to be a minor a leaguer or a major leaguer if he had. I don't think he would have gotten up to the major leagues only because, as I said before, of Marty Marion. And Marty Marion was a really solid ball player, and he was up for a Hall of Fame consideration a few years ago before he passed away. And he was also the 1944 National League MVP. I believe it's 44, if not 1945. I think that's Phil Cavarretta. I get these dates a little bit confused sometimes. But I never really talked to Marty Marion about Sammy Baugh. I had a sneaking suspicion that they knew each other, but I didn't really know how to start that conversation. If you would get in the Hall of Fame, it would have probably been as a manager, but he was a really solid shortstop. And again, I don't know if Sammy Baugh would have made it to the majors. Even if he had, I think he made the right choice to choose the NFL. Again, like that 1940 championship, I would have loved to have seen that, in fact. And I know it's probably one of the most lopsided victories in the NFL, 73 to nothing. And I'm sure that Sammy Baugh never really wanted to talk about that. I mean, I wouldn't, but that was against Sid Luckman and the Bears. And from what I've heard, was that the uh, what led up to that was essentially the Redskins were talking trash about the Bears, and the Bears could overhear them, and it was just lights out. And so there were other championships too that these two teams would face. It seemed like on a yearly basis, but Sammy Baugh has a lot of really great cards, and I really want to know what your favorite card is of Sammy Baugh. For me personally, um, I would have to say the 1948 Leaf, which is really great. And I said before that I had just gotten that card at the Shriner show this year after years and years of trying to find it. And it's always one of those cards that is really off center. And 1948 or now 1949 Leaf are are something that I think when they were doing the cards, Leaf actually, I think they owned their own presses, and one of the few manufacturers to actually own their own presses, and that the employees were doing it on their off time, and uh, they may not have been as skilled as they should have been or would have been had Leaf actually contracted out to a third party. And so you have a lot of problems with those Leaf sets. But on the other hand, when you can find a 1948 Leaf Sammy Baugh that is centered and has the full registration, it is a very beautiful card. It really is. It pops, especially that banner with his name on it, because the background is a nice royal blue, and it's a stunning card. But he has other really great cards. The 1952 Bowman, which I think that was the first Bowman card of Sammy Baugh's that I ever got. That card is really nice too. I love the colors in that. And then the 1951, it's not a bad card. If you want to pick up a Sammy Baugh fairly cheap. His cards are kind of expensive, to tell you the truth, but I think the 51 is probably the easiest that you might be able to. I mean, I think it's affordable still for the average collector. And then Sammy Baugh does a 48 Bowman, and a lot of people consider that his rookie card. Again, guys, I would love to hear what your thoughts on Sammy Baugh are, and I will talk to you in another video. Have a good one. Bye.